Do you ever feel powerless? Like you're just a passenger in your own life? Subject to random events completely beyond your control? A quiet sense that life is happening to you, not through you, for centuries. We've been taught to see ourselves this way as biological machines living in a giant clockwork universe. In this view, your consciousness, your awareness, your thoughts, your feelings is just an accidental side effect. A ghost in the machine with no real power to influence the physical world. But what if that entire story is wrong? What if the most advanced science of the last century, quantum physics, has uncovered a secret that turns this picture upside down? A secret that suggests your mind is not a powerless observer, but an active participant in shaping how reality takes form in your experience every single day. This isn't science fiction, it's the frontier of physics, and it holds the key to unlocking your true creative power. To understand this, we have to start with a simple but bizarre fact. The solid world you see around you isn't solid at its core. It's built from quantum particles that exist in a state of pure, unformed potential. Think of it as an infinite shimmering field of possibilities, where a particle isn't in one place, but exists as a smear of probabilities, a ghostly wave of all the places it could be at once. Not metaphorically, but mathematically, according to the equations of quantum mechanics. So, what is the force that can reach into this fog of potential, select one specific possibility, and make it real? What collapses the wave of potential into the solid, tangible world we know? The pioneers of quantum physics were shocked by what their experiments revealed: that force is the act of observation. Not observation as passive-looking, but observation as measurement, interaction, and information entering awareness. This is the famous observer effect, and it reveals that reality is not a fixed stage we're merely watching. It's a participatory process, a dance between consciousness and the quantum field. This raises a question that shatters materialism. If reality only becomes real when it's observed, then who is doing the observing? Max Planck, the father of quantum theory, was forced by his own mathematics to a revolutionary conclusion. He wasn't speculating. He was trying to make sense of his results when he famously stated, "I regard consciousness as fundamental. I regard matter as derivative from consciousness." This was not a metaphorical or poetic statement. It was a stark admission that the results of their experiments were pointing toward an inescapable truth. The mind is not a mere passive perceiver of reality. It plays an active and indispensable role in shaping it. We are about to delve into the scientific evidence behind this extraordinary claim. Explore what it means for your life, and discover how you can begin to consciously wield this principle. We are standing on the precipice of a revolution in human understanding, one that reveals you are not a passenger in the universe. You are its co-creator. To truly grasp the transformative power of this discovery, we must journey back in time to the dawn of the 20th century and follow the story of the brilliant scientists who, quite by accident, stumbled upon this cosmic secret. Our story does not begin with a mystic or a philosopher in a remote monastery, but with pragmatic physicists in a laboratory trying to solve a seemingly simple puzzle about the nature of light. For many years, a fierce debate had raged within the scientific community. Is light fundamentally a wave, like a ripple in a pond? Or is it a stream of particles, like tiny bullets? The famous double-slit experiment appeared to have settled this question definitively. When scientists shone a beam of light through two narrow, parallel slits in a barrier, it created a distinctive interference pattern on a screen behind it, a series of alternating bright and dark bands. This pattern is the unmistakable signature of wave-like behavior. It demonstrated that the waves of light were passing through both slits simultaneously and then interfering with each other on the other side, creating peaks and troughs just like water waves. The story should have ended there, with light confirmed as a wave, but science rarely ends where we expect it to. Driven by curiosity, physicists decided to try something strange. They wanted to know, with certainty, which of the two slits each individual photon of light was actually passing through. To accomplish this, they placed a sensitive detector, a sort of microscopic camera, right next to the slits to watch the photons on their journey. And that is the precise moment when reality itself seemed to glitch. The instant the scientists switched on the detector to observe the photons, the wave-like interference pattern completely vanished. It was gone. In its place, the photons began to behave exactly like tiny, discrete bullets, passing definitively through either one slit or the other, and forming two simple bands on the screen behind them, exactly what you would expect from classical particles. It was as if the universe knew it was being watched and altered its behavior accordingly. Not because the particles had awareness or intention, but because the very act of measurement changed what could physically occur. The simple act of acquiring which path information, knowing where the photon went, was enough to force an indeterminate wave of probability to collapse into a single, definite outcome. Before observation, there was no fact of the matter, only a cloud of possibilities. This result was so counterintuitive, so deeply unsettling, that it shattered centuries of assumptions about how reality was supposed to work. The physicist Pascual Jordan, who worked closely with Niels Bohr, put it bluntly and without comfort: we ourselves produce the results of the measurement. This statement sent shockwaves through the physics community, because it didn't just challenge a theory, it challenged the very idea of an objective world existing independently of observation. What could it possibly mean to say that a particle doesn't have a definite position until it is observed? How could reality depend on whether information is gathered? Niels Bohr, one of the principal architects of quantum mechanics, took this implication seriously, perhaps more seriously than anyone else. He argued that we must abandon the classical idea of a fully formed reality existing out there, regardless of observation. There is no quantum world. He famously said, "There is only an abstract quantum description." It is the act of measurement itself that brings a concrete phenomenon into existence. But this raised an even deeper and more disturbing question. Who or what actually qualifies as the observer? Is a mechanical detector enough? Or is there something incomplete about stopping the chain of observation there? The Nobel Prize-winning physicist Eugene Wigner followed this question to its logical breaking point with a now famous thought experiment known as Wigner's friend. He imagined a friend performing a quantum measurement inside a perfectly isolated laboratory. For the friend inside the lab, the outcome is definite: they observe a clear result. But for Wigner, who remains outside and has no access to that information, the entire laboratory, including his friend, must still be described as existing in a quantum superposition. From the outside, nothing has yet happened. It is only when Wigner opens the door, receives the information, and that knowledge registers within his own conscious awareness, that the superposition collapses into a single, shared reality. From this unsettling logic, Wigner drew a conclusion that many physicists found deeply uncomfortable. It was not possible to formulate the laws of quantum mechanics in a fully consistent way without reference to consciousness. This wasn't mysticism. It was the unavoidable endpoint of the equations themselves. John Archibald Wheeler, a colleague of Einstein and the man who coined the terms black hole and wormhole, took this idea even further. He proposed the concept of a participatory universe, A universe that does not exist as a finished object waiting to be discovered, but one that comes into being through acts of observation. No phenomenon is a real phenomenon until it is an observed phenomenon, Wheeler declared. He even suggested that our present observations reach backward through time, helping to define the physical reality of the early universe itself. In this view, the cosmos is not a pre-recorded film playing independently of us. It is a story still being written, one observation at a time. This radically reframes our role in existence. We are not passive spectators watching a universe unfold according to fixed rules. We are participants, contributors, co-authors in an unfinished cosmic process. The story of quantum physics, then, is not really a story about particles or equations. It is a story about the relationship between awareness and existence itself. And every time you become aware of the world around you, you are not merely witnessing reality. You are helping determine how it takes form. The stunning realization that consciousness plays a fundamental role in shaping physical reality is not merely a strange anomaly confined to the esoteric world of science. It is a bridge. It forms an unexpected and powerful bridge that connects the deepest insights of modern physics with the most ancient wisdom of spiritual traditions from all across the globe. For millennia, mystics, sages, and philosophers have proclaimed that the physical world is, in some sense, an illusion often called Maya in Vedic traditions, that there exists a universal consciousness underlying all of existence, and that the human mind plays an intimate role in shaping experience. These ideas were long dismissed by the scientific mainstream as poetic, symbolic, or untestable. But what quantum physics introduced was something radically new, a mathematical language capable of describing a universe where form emerges from the formless. Consider the concept of the quantum field. According to quantum field theory, the most fundamental constituents of the universe are not solid particles, but intangible, vibrating fields of energy that permeate all of space and time. Every particle, an electron, a photon, a quark is nothing more than a localized excitation, a temporary ripple in its underlying field. The universe, at its core, is not made of things. It is made of patterns of activity within invisible fields. Now compare this to ancient concepts such as Akasha in Vedic philosophy, described as a primordial, space-like substrate from which all forms arise, or the Tao in Taoism, portrayed as the formless source from which the 10,000 things emerge. These traditions were not making scientific claims in the modern sense. They were pointing to an intuition that beneath appearances lies a unified field of potential. What makes this moment in history extraordinary is not that physics has validated spirituality, but that two entirely different ways of knowing are now gesturing toward the same underlying structure of reality. Modern physics describes a universe woven from fluctuating fields. Ancient wisdom spoke of a cosmos emerging from a single, indivisible source. Different languages, different methods, a strikingly similar insight. And then comes the most unsettling convergence of all. From the double-slit experiment, we learned that these quantum fields do not settle into definite outcomes on their own. They remain in superposition states of possibility until an interaction occurs that extracts information from the system. The mathematician John von Neumann examined this measurement problem with ruthless precision. He showed that no matter how far you extend the chain from particle, to detector, to sensory organs, to neural activity, the entire physical process remains describable by quantum equations. Nowhere in the physical chain does collapse naturally occur. Von Neumann concluded that the chain can only terminate at one point the moment information enters conscious awareness. This does not mean the mind creates matter out of nothing. It means that physical descriptions alone are incomplete without accounting for observation itself. This conclusion mirrors the philosophical position known as idealism, the idea that consciousness is not produced by matter, but that matter appears within consciousness. Max Planck articulated this with startling clarity when he stated that we must assume behind the force that holds atoms together the existence of a conscious and intelligent mind, that this mind is the matrix of all matter. He was not invoking religion. He was acknowledging what the equations refused to let him ignore. Then there is quantum entanglement, perhaps the most profound discovery of all. When two particles become entangled, they form a single quantum system. Regardless of the distance between them, measure one and the other responds instantly. Einstein famously called this spooky action at a distance, because it violates our intuitive understanding of space, separation, and causality. At the quantum level, separation appears to be an illusion. This resonates uncannily with ancient spiritual metaphors like Indra's net in Buddhism, a cosmic web where each jewel reflects every other jewel, endlessly and instantaneously. Physics does not claim these metaphors are literally true, but it does suggest that the universe behaves as if it were fundamentally interconnected. Not a collection of independent parts, but a single, indivisible whole. And here is where the bridge completes itself. Quantum physics does not ask you to adopt spiritual beliefs. Spiritual traditions do not require you to accept scientific models. But together, they invite a new perspective that reality is not something separate from you, and that awareness is not an accidental byproduct of matter. It is part of the structure of existence itself. And once this becomes clear, the question is no longer theoretical, it becomes personal. Because if consciousness participates in shaping experience at the deepest level, then your inner state is not a private, meaningless side effect. It becomes the lens through which possibility takes form. And that realization quietly leads us to the most practical question of all. How do you live differently once you understand this? Understanding intellectually that your consciousness constructs reality is one thing. Directly experiencing this truth in your own life is something else entirely. Bridging the gap from abstract science to concrete. Practical application requires that we begin to treat these quantum principles not just as descriptions of the subatomic world, but as powerful and operative metaphors for how we interact with reality at every level. If, at its most fundamental basis, the universe is a vast sea of potential waiting for conscious observation to crystallize it into actuality, then our focused mind becomes the primary tool of selection. This forms the very foundation of conscious creation, learning to deliberately wield your attention and intention to collapse the wave functions of your desired possibilities into your experienced reality. The first and most fundamental step in this creative process is achieving absolute clarity of intention. In quantum physics, a vague or imprecise measurement will inevitably lead to a vague or imprecise result. Similarly, a fuzzy, facile, half-hearted intention will only ever create a fuzzy and ambiguous reality. You must define with pristine precision exactly what it is you wish to experience. This isn't about a casual, fleeting wish. It is about creating a detailed and coherent blueprint in the inner world of your mind. You must visualize it with every sense at your disposal. What does this new reality look like? What does it feel like to be there? What are the sounds associated with it? By creating a vivid, detailed, and multi-sensory mental image, you are effectively specifying a particular possibility out of the infinite spectrum available in the quantum field. The next critical step is to energize that possibility with elevated emotion and unwavering belief. This is the absolute key. Researchers at institutions like the HeartMath Institute have scientifically demonstrated that the human heart generates a powerful electromagnetic field that measurably changes according to our emotional state. Emotions such as love, gratitude, joy, and appreciation produce highly coherent, orderly wave patterns, while emotions like fear, anger, and frustration produce chaotic, incoherent, and disordered patterns. In the language of quantum physics, you can think of these emotions as your vibrational frequency. To attract a reality, you must become a vibrational match to the frequency of that reality. It is not enough to simply think about wealth. You must feel the emotions of abundance and freedom. It is not enough to merely visualize health. You must feel the sensations of vitality and well-being. Emotion is the language that the quantum field seems to understand most clearly. It transforms your intention from a purely abstract idea into a powerful, energetic signal. You are, in effect, charging your chosen possibility with emotional energy, making it stand out from all other potentials. Once the intention is set and charged with emotion, the next crucial step is to surrender. Let go, and trust this is the act of withdrawing your observation from all the unwanted possibilities. For many, this can be the most challenging part of the entire process. Remember the double-slit experiment, the moment the observer tries to force an outcome by desperately looking to see which slit the particle went through. The superposition of possibilities collapses. Similarly, if you are constantly obsessed with how or when your desire will manifest, you are introducing doubt, anxiety, and the need to control, all of which are low-energy frequencies that jam your signal and create interference. Letting go is not passive resignation. It is an active and dynamic trust in the process. It is the profound knowing that you have broadcast your signal and that the quantum field, with its infinite intelligence, is now orchestrating and rearranging itself to deliver a reality that matches it. It's exactly like planting a seed. You don't dig it up every day to check if it's growing. That would destroy it. You provide it with the right conditions, fertile soil, water, sunlight, and then you trust in the infallible natural process of growth. In this case, your clear intention is the seed. Your elevated emotions are the soil and water. And your trusting surrender is the sunlight that allows it to grow. You must learn to act and live from the state of the end result, making decisions from a place where your desire is already your reality. By practicing these principles, focused intention, elevated emotion, and surrendered trust, you shift from being a victim of circumstance to being the architect of your reality. You are learning to speak the language of the universe, a language not of words, but of energy, frequency, and consciousness. We have journeyed through the strange and wonderful corners of quantum physics, from the central puzzle of the double-slit experiment to the profound implications of entanglement and the undeniable central role of consciousness. We have seen how the very founders of this scientific revolution, brilliant minds like Max Planck, Eugene Wigner, and John Wheeler, were forced by their own discoveries to confront a staggering truth. The mind is not a passive bystander in the universe, but an essential participant in the very creation of reality. The message that echoes through a century of quantum research is clear, consistent, and world-altering fundamental reality is not a collection of fixed, solid objects, but a dynamic, energetic field of potentiality that responds to and is molded by the act of conscious observation. The universe is not a predetermined machine running on autopilot. It is a possibility in the making, a participatory work of art that we are co-painting into existence with every passing moment of our awareness. To fully embrace this truth is to undergo the most profound paradigm shift a human being can possibly experience. It moves you from a state of perceived powerlessness, where you believe you are merely a product of a random and often chaotic world, to a state of creative sovereignty, where you recognize that you are the central creative force in your own personal experience. This does not mean you can turn lead into gold with a thought or levitate off the ground through sheer willpower. The laws of classical physics still govern our macroscopic world with reliable consistency. But it does mean that the underlying field of energy and information from which that world emerges is far more malleable and responsive than we have ever been led to believe. It means that your beliefs, perceptions, emotions, and intentions are not just subjective chemical reactions happening inside your brain. They are powerful, objective signals that you are constantly broadcasting out into the quantum field, influencing which probabilities are most likely to manifest as the events and circumstances of your life. Your greatest power does not lie in your muscles or your bank account, but in your sovereign ability to choose where you place your attention. Because where attention goes, energy flows. So, how do we live with this transformative knowledge? The call to action here is not to abandon logic or personal responsibility. It is to integrate them with a deeper understanding of your inherent creative power. Begin by becoming a vigilant observer of your own thoughts and emotions. What story are you constantly telling yourself about your reality? Are you unconsciously collapsing the wave functions of lack, sickness, and disappointment simply through the habit of negative thinking and feeling? Become the conscious guardian at the gate of your own mind. Every single day, set aside time to practice the art of conscious creation. Carve out just 10 or 15 minutes to disconnect from the outer world of effects and connect with the inner world of cause and potential. Get crystal clear on what you want to create. Feel the emotions of it already having happened. Bathe yourself in the gratitude of it already being yours. By doing this, you are performing your own personal quantum experiment. You are selecting a possibility from the infinite field and giving it life with your focused awareness and energy. Remember, you are a quantum being. You are not just a physical body. You are a field of consciousness interacting with a larger cosmic field. Never underestimate the power of a focused intention, fueled by an open heart. You are not here merely to get by or to survive. You are here to create. The universe is not something that is happening to you. It is happening through you and for you. Embrace your power. Become the conscious architect of your life. Your reality is awaiting your instruction.